Alright, so in this lesson, I'm going to identify and interpret slope and y-intercept of a linear relation given a table. So, linear relation given a table. So I'm going to give you a situation, and we are going to talk about the slope, the y-intercept, and we're going to write it as an equation. So this first situation, Izzy starts a Mr. Lopez fan club. She rents a car to drive all over America and tell people. So we have the cost and we have the distance. So I am actually going to put the change, let's put change in cost. Triangle C. And actually, let me back up. Let's look at the first thing it asks for. It asks for the y-intercept. The y-intercept is when this first number is 0. It's when the independent value is 0. Now, I have to find a way of figuring, I can't just put any number here. So I will look at my rate of change here, and that way I can move backwards and find it. So let's figure out the change in cost. This is the distance driven. So Izzy rented a car and she's driving. And so I'm going to put the change in M, change in miles. I prefer to write it that way. So the cost increases by $1. The cost increased by $1 when the distance increased by 2 miles. When the distance increased by 2 miles. So in order to get back to the cost at 0 miles driven, I would just have to do minus 2, but instead of adding 1, I'm going to subtract 1. 53 minus 1 is 52. And there we go. So the y-intercept was 0, 52. We have to refer back to our situation, though, to interpret it. So she started a fan club, she rented a car. When she traveled 0 miles, it cost $52. So I guess it cost $52 just to rent the car. Alright, cool. Now it's asking for our slope, our constant rate of change. We actually already did a lot of the work here. So it's the change in cost over the change in miles. So change in cost over the change in miles. The cost increased by $1 when the miles increased by 2 miles. So a positive over positive is a positive. We cannot divide, or we cannot reduce this anymore, so we're done with this. And let's write it in decimal form. 0.5. So the cost increases by $1 when I'm going to put number of miles. Well, let's say distance, right? When the distance increases by 2 miles. Okay. Let's write some equations to represent the situation. So the cost is what we're talking about. The cost is our dependent variable. The cost is right here. The cost equals $52 to start with, plus $1 every 2 miles. So 1 over 2 times the number of miles. We can also write it as the cost equals $52 plus 50 cents every mile. And we got that. We got the half and the 0.5 from our constant rate of change. So just in case you sort of missed it, this will be my y-intercept, which is the first thing I found. And this will be my slope. my constant rate of change. Okay, so let's do another one. Situation 2. Mr. G is sipping on some haterade. As he sips, the amount of haterade decreases. So the haterade in the bottle, number of ounces. So, even before we get there, let's figure out what we got to do. Y-intercept. To get to the y-intercept, the first number has to be 0. So I'm going to have to go backwards. So I need to figure out how to go forward. So the change in haterade, and I'm going to put, instead of time, I'm going to put minutes. I don't know, I prefer doing that. So the change in haterade. So the haterade decreases by 2 ounces every 3 additional minutes. So if I go back 3, instead of taking away 2, I need to put it back in. So I get 32. Y-intercept and meeting. So 0, 32. So let's think about the situation. He was sipping on some haterade. As he sips, the amount of haterade decreases. So this is how much haterade he has. After 0 minutes have passed. So Mr. G started with 32 ounces of Gatorade. You could also spell ounces if you want. Oh, not Gatorade, haterade. My constant rate of change. So the change in haterade over the change in time, or the change in minutes. Change in haterade over the change in minutes. So the haterade decreased by 2 ounces when the time increased by 3 minutes. Cool. So a negative over positive is a negative. I can't reduce these, so here decimal form is negative 0.66 repeating. Alright, so let's interpret the slope, which is the constant rate of change. So the slope. So the amount of haterade, decreased by 2 ounces. When the time increases by 3 minutes. Cool. So remember, we're talking our dependent variable. The one we care about is the amount of haterade in the bottle. So the amount of haterade in the bottle starts with 32 ounces, right? Yeah, 32 ounces. And then it decreases by 2 ounces every 3 minutes. So it decreases by 2/3 of an ounce every minute. Or you could say the amount of haterade starts at 32 ounces and it decreases by about 0.66 repeating ounces every minute. Remember that this is your y-intercept. That's 32. And this minus 2/3 is your slope. And that's it. Thank you.